Ladies and gentlemen, it has finally happened. After weeks and months of interviewing Manchester United legends and Liverpool legends and City legends and anyone else, they have finally submitted and given me a Newcastle United legend, and not just any legend, but one of the key members of the legendary 90s entertainers. Take a look at this video.
Portsmouth trying to get back into this game. You had the better of the exchange yourself. Oh, what a goal that
is! Ladies and gentlemen, John Beresford's here!
What an intro. I'm going to say, I'll go with the legend. As I say, I know my pecking order. My standards in the Newcastle hierarchy. I'll give it that one. I got the best left back at Newcastle's history, so I'll dine out on that for many a day.
Absolutely, you are a hero. The entertainers in Newcastle and that whole Keegan era, you are a big part of that. And don't be so humble, John. There's a lot of love for you out there. When I've told a lot of my Newcastle supporting friends, they are jealous of this.
The thing of it is, it's a weird one. As I say, how I came to be at Newcastle. The funny thing is, I was signing for Liverpool. I went to Midfield, did the medical and failed it. I failed it, and wow. I remember coming out raw. And I'm not gonna lie, I was in tears. I was like, well, no one's gonna touch me. Graham Souness had said, look, you've got a problem with your ankle. You know, the board won't sign you. And I remember my old boss at Portsmouth, Jim Smith, said, look, Bez, you've played sort of like 200 games since then, you know, it's bollocks. And I went, Jim, the deal's off. And he went, somebody else wants you. I went, what are you on about? He went, Kevin Keegan wants you at Newcastle. I went, what? He said, because Liverpool were involved, he knew he got no chance. And Keegan had just taken over at Newcastle. No disrespect at that time. Newcastle weren't the greatest of teams. They just survived in the Championship. But Keegan was a boyhood hero of mine. And I remember, honestly, I swear, I had to make this phone call. I was at, I think it's Birch Services, M62, and I remember it got no mobile phone, and I phoned Kevin Keegan, and he went, hello, and I went, hello, and he went, who's this? I went, John Beresford. He went, oh, thank you, come and sign for me, thank you for giving me the call, as Jim explained. And I went, no, you need to understand. He went, what? I went, I've just failed the medical at Liverpool. And he started laughing. Seriously, he started laughing. He says, oh, don't worry. He said, I've just signed Paul Bracewell. You'll piss ours. And I was like, as you can guess, my head had gone anyhow. You know, I'm like, you know, my head's all in a spin. He went, where are you? I says, I'm at Birch Services, M62. He went, right, get yourself up here. And I went, where? He went, he says, you know the Gosford Hotel at Newcastle? I went, no. He says, you can't miss it. He says, it's right next to the where the sort of the horse racing is. You can't miss it. I went, right, okay. And I remember pulling to the car park. Me and my dad got out of the car. Him and Terry Mike, honestly, met me in the car park. And I'm like looking at my dad going, Keegan, Terry Mike. Anyhow, he took me into the hotel and he sat me down. And I promise you, he was like, his enthusiasm was second to none. He just went, right, he said, don't worry. You're going to sign for me today. This is a blessing in disguise. And he said, we'll get promoted this year. We'll be in Europe next year. I'll get in the England squad. And I'm thinking, he's on drugs. Honestly, yeah. And I just went, anyhow, did the medical. And they just went, right, don't worry. Everything will be sorted. And then he called me into his office. And this is truth. He called me into his office 2 seasons from that meeting. You know, we'd always chatted and everything else. And he went, sit down. He went, can you remember our meeting? And I went, yeah. He went, did we get promoted? I went, yeah. Did we get in Europe? I went, yeah. Did you get in the England squad? I went, yeah. And I just went, Gaffer, I can't thank you enough. The bloke was a genius. Honestly, you tell people that story and you think, oh, people think I'm sugarcoating it, I'm making it up. Honestly, it was frightening. It was the best experience and the best experience of my life. And football-wise, was just freakily good.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I want to get onto. Like, the Entertainers are possibly one of the teams in Premier League history. What was it like for you being a part of that? Like, Newcastle must have just been pumping at the time.
Well, yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I played a particular way anyhow. I was very, very attack-minded anyhow. And I think it signed. The good thing, he did sign Paul Bracewell, and I'm not going to lie, Paul Bracewell's quality. He was coming to the end of his career. He'd had a few, injury problems. His ankle was screwed, but he also signed a guy called Barry Venison, who me and him fought like cat and dog. He was all about keep your shape and everything. I was like, come on, let's go and create something. So we kind of differed on a few things. So we came to a few sort of tete-a-tete, so to speak, over our sort of couple of years together. But it was. Keegan then said, because he signed me because I was going to sign for Luton, he said it was like a bit of a key signing. And I was lucky enough that the lad in front of me at that time was a guy called Kevin Shearer, used to be at Everton. What a player. No pace, couldn't run for love nor money, but I had legs for fun. And we just connected great. Now, people said to me, did Keegan tell you this is how you play? Like you have like in the modern day, you go, well, this is Mourinho style. This is Pep style. Yeah. This is how he wants you to play. I hear that, Pep sort of like on the training ground goes, do this, do that. And Mourinho does this, whichever which way style of play. Keegan actually put it on the players. He used to go, if you see it, and honestly, he would go, if you see it, do it. Right. I can't be on the pitch for you. And he goes, look, but he says, but what I do want, he says, I don't like negativity. I want it to go forward. If it can't, I understand. But your first thought is go forward. And when you get a team who've got ability, all believing in it and going for it, I tell you what, it's unbelievable how far it can take you.
Well, and it did. I mean, like second in the Premier League twice, FA Cup finals, and like that. I know you were really humble about it, but you've built a legacy as being a legend in Newcastle. And that's just from, like you said, the power of positivity from Kevin Keegan. That's a wonderful thing.
Yeah, it is. And being around him, he's got like an aura. And I've been around, some proper people in football. Sir Alex Ferguson, he's got that aura. Kevin Keegan's got that aura. And there's a few where you go, it's wow. You hang on every word. And to be around him, the thing with Kevin though, or the gaffer, because it's weird, I can't call him Kevin, the gaffer. The weird thing is it starts with training. You get in the morning, and he's just full of life, and then the day starts. When I was, don't get me wrong, I started my career at Man City, went to Barnsley, Portsmouth, and everything. It was a job, you get stretched, and it was you work hard and everything else. When I was at Newcastle, for 6.5 years. It was never a job. I swear, honestly, it's a different feel to it. I couldn't wait to get up in the morning and get into training. The social side, the banter with the lads. Then it was like, right, me and Rob Lee were big mates, and it'd be like head tennis. Kevin Keegan and Terry Mike were very, very good. Even that, they were in the 40s, but they were still what they thought were head tennis kings. Me and Rob were very good at it. I look back, Steve Watson, Malcolm Allen, there were some other good partnerships. But you got to remember, you would be getting in at sort of like 9 o'clock in the morning. You didn't need to start training till 10:30, but you would be in at 9 to get the head tennis court. If you got on the court, winner stays on. And I'm telling you, it was ridiculously serious. And all of a sudden, and I remember the time we took the scalp of Keegan and Terry Mack, and we all of a sudden, me and Rob Lee sort of got the better of it. You figure it out, you figure your way around him. And then all of a sudden, Keegan banned us from playing. It was. I know it sounds petty, but it was just the beauty of it. He went, right, you two. No, I want you out doing a bit of extra training and everything else. You're not getting on the court. And then they could be the kings of the head tennis court. It was. It's hard to explain. It weren't like going to a football club like I'd go with certain manager and it'd be like, get your stretches done now. Keegan would just walk out 10:30 and go, right, you ready? And you'd have your chance to do your workup. He put the responsibility on yourself. If you got yourself injured, then that's your fault. You know what? it is, I think, it's a great attribute that he put so much sort of onus on ourselves to make sure that you went. And the one thing, sorry, I'm jumping a little bit there, but
No,
the one
please.
thing with the train, the one thing with training it with Keegan though, it had to be ridiculously intense. You didn't train a long time, an hour, 15 hour, and if you over an hour 15, I'd be very, very surprised. But an hour training session with Keegan was full pelt, and if you did not, he would kick off. And you've seen him. I love it if this. When he spits his dummy out, he don't. You feel the full force of it. And a lot of the new signings over the years, and this started from when I first went there. I remember Andy Cole coming in, and Coley was shite, to be honest. He was rubbish. He came in training. You could see he was a brilliant player, but in training, rubbish, because he couldn't get to the standard of what Coley in training liked to be. He liked to be warm, liked to do it at his own pace, and it'd be a full pelt. So on a serious note, we used to have a 6-a-side on a Friday. Coley would be probably last pick. But don't get me wrong, on a Saturday, you want him in your team.
Yeah,
because,
absolutely.
It was very much that. Oh, I look back over the training sessions; they were that intense. It was like silly things. I'm jumping the gun again. David Ginola and Tino Espilla are the most skillful players I have ever met. But the lads, if you put them on a 6-a-side and they're in the same team, they get battered because they don't chase back, they don't treat, and the trainees took so serious that team would get hammered. So the other 4 players would be screaming at Keegan, going, "No, you can't have 2 of them on the same team." And you get to see David Ginola and Tino's face going, "Why do you not want me? I'm superstar. I'm best player." No, yeah, you are, but 2 of you together are shit. And it's true. So, and Keegan would make it that if it'd be in training, if you lost that 6-a-side, there'd be a forfeit. It could be running, it could be exercise, or it could be the famous yellow shirt. That if you get the yellow, because what Keegan would do is if you lost that training session, the other team then have to vote for the worst player on that team, and then you have to wear the yellow shirt. And the yellow shirt, you didn't want to wear it. There was some nasty things done to that yellow shirt.
Right, so there's a few bits in there I'm going to unpick, but just before we do, I need to ask you about the proposed Newcastle takeover. Like, what do you think that would do for the club, for the city, as someone that lived through the last big period at Newcastle?
Yeah, it's ready now. It's ready to go. It's been just existing. The owner just wants to make money. I understand what he's trying to do, but for a city like Newcastle, it doesn't fit. The fans and the owner, it's not what they want. They want to be proud of the club. They want to buy the shirt and feel as though they're having a go at something that they can try and achieve. If they fail, they're not bothered. They'll accept it. The Newcastle will accept, right? Okay, but we've had a go. Just to exist and survive in the Premier League is not. No, that's not what football's about, and especially not if you're a Geordie and you live in the northeast. And I'll put Sunderland in that category as well. It's just a different mentality up there. So it now needs someone who's going to come in and give it a chance, and it's ready to go. It's the Premiership. I think now is at its strongest as it's ever been. That people are competing. Don't get me wrong, you've got the top 2, Man City and Liverpool, but I'm on about teams at the top competing with proper players. It's as good as it gets. Steve's coming in, Steve Brew, and I know Steve very, very well. He came in this year and I thought, good luck, mate. You're taking on, I'm thinking, if he finishes 4th from bottom, you've done brilliant. You know what? He's exceeded himself. Yeah. If somebody comes in and gives him a chance, I hope they do. I hope they could just give him 1 year at least. I hope they surprise me and give him longer. But he deserves the chance to say, do you know what? Buy the players you think that you can take us to the next step. Because you can't just go from where Newcastle are now to top 4. But what you can do, you could probably go to top 8 and maybe get that Europa spot. And you know what? The fans to travel in Europe, I've been on planes where fans are getting on the same plane with you.
Amazing.
UEFA Cup or Champions League. So, and it just makes not their day, it makes their life. So to get Newcastle back into Europe would just be phenomenal. So, and I just think it'd be nice if Steve could be that person to at least give him a chance to have a go. But it needs to be. But again, I've been ringing up, and if I got any story, I'd tell you. There's few people, there's whispers on it. It is going to happen, but it's still the fat lady hasn't sang yet. And I just hate that. That's the problem with Newcastle and the soap story that sometimes comes with it.
Absolutely. It's never boring, is it? It's never, ever boring.
No, that's what you sometimes got to take with Newcastle. It's not great. It's not just, oh, that's all right. You know what I mean? There's something happening, whether it's high or low.
Ups and downs.
That's it, yeah. Roller coaster.
Well, that's enough of the serious stuff. I actually have a question I've been dying to ask you. I heard this rumour back in the 90s that when Asprilla first signed for Newcastle, you lot convinced him to wear a Daffy Duck waistcoat to go out on the big market. Now, I've been dying to ask you, is that true? Did you wind him up that much?
To be honest, Tino's gear was horrendous anyhow. So to get him to wear that, it probably would have improved him because honestly, his gear was shite, right? He could. And the thing is with Tino, these certain people would put, he'd probably have some, I don't know, he'd have some I don't know. Let me think of what would be. He'd have some like Versace jeans on, and then he'd have like a Gucci top on, and he'd look like a paraffin lamp. He'd just look like somebody. He'd look like a down and out. Just look at. He just all hung on him. It didn't look right. But with Tino, you look in them eyes, you look at that smile, and you just smile. It didn't matter, because he'd have like I don't know, a gold Rolex on, and he'd have a gold chain on. But it just looked. You'd think that's snide. You see, when he wore it, it looked shit. It looked like the lucky man on the beach. That was what it looked like. And do you know what? He was brilliant. And the thing of it is, he took the wind-ups really well, because you got to remember, he struggled with the language. And it's like Shearer. Shearer's a big wind-up merchant, big practical joker. And Shearer used to, honestly, he'd like training sessions would be moved from one session to another and that. And Shearer would always be telling Tino wrong time, wrong place and everything else. And to be honest, Tino should have really clipped him a couple of times. But Tino just had this, whatever, manana. That's the way he was. I honestly, mate, I could tell you story after story about that guy. He was, I loved him to death. He could drive you mental when you're playing with him, but he could win you the game on his own. I've never, some of his skills were freaky. Yeah,
an incredible footballer. We had Keith Gillespie on recently, and he was telling us about the top. Yeah. Them two are like that, isn't they?
Honestly, it's the weirdest friendship I have ever come across. I mean, I know Keith really well. We still, even now, you do the charity games and the golf competitions and everything. So I still catch up with Keith. And because I'm at the club, I invite Keith back to do, to come around the lounges and that, and you catch up. And then he'll show me little video snippets of him and Tino having the little chats. It's the weirdest thing ever. Did Keith tell you that Tino invited us out for his 50th?
Yes, yeah, he said something about that. Yeah.
The trouble was, Keith had already he'd agreed that I think he was playing for Man United, sort of like in Singapore and everything, so he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
Tino got his interpreter, Carlos, and he got in touch with me. Shearer was never coming. Ferdinand was never coming. Peter Beasley, they hit themselves. So it came down to the last three. And there was Keith, myself, and Rob, and I'm going, I fancy it. I'm saying this is going to be. I'm sorry. I know it's Colombia. I know it's the reputation it goes with. But I'm thinking we're with Tino. Come on, we're going to get looked after.
Yeah.
Rob Lee shit himself and went, Bez, can't do it. And I thought, there's one person will go with me. And I went, Keith. Keith went, Bez, I can't. I've already committed to playing in Singapore. And so he didn't come. And I phoned Carlos up and I went, please tell Tino You know, I would have come, but I weren't going on my own. There was no ways I was doing that. My missus wouldn't have allowed me to go to Colombia on my own. That was a no-no.
Well, Keith told us he got noticed like a week before as well. It was just a case, come to Colombia next week.
Oh yeah, sorry, but that's Tino. It was literally. I think it was about. No, I've got to give him due. I think it was about 8-9 days. You know, there was plenty of time to think about it, and that was the thing, because Keith had already committed. He weren't like, oh, by the way, down the line I can juggle anything, but that's Tino. He is a legend in his own right.
Oh, absolutely. I did a bit of research before this, and it was like he's giving away free condoms during the coronavirus panic. He had his prize bull stolen.
In Colombia. He's got his
own.
It's
ridiculous.
Oh, mate. Yeah. The bloke, honestly, the bloke. I got to tell you, there's a story. I'll go back when he first arrived. His mates used to come over, you know, and they did arrive. Now, you know, spirit hard to play, but anyhow, they were. I've got to be careful. You know, when you just go, yeah, not dodgy, but
yeah.
It's just different kind of characters. That's the best way to describe it. Anyhow, his mate, we were in the canteen. It was after training, and anyhow, I've gone over. Pleased to meet you. You know, they didn't speak much English. And his mate had like this, like a black velvet bag, and I went, "What's that?" And he says, "Oh," and he's going, "You like?" So Carlos now comes. He goes, "Bez, what is it?" He went, I says, "Oh, what's it got?" He says, "Oh, he's got some rings for sale." So I went, "All right," and this is he poured these rings on the table, and they must have been about 100, right? And they were like gold and green, emerald. They were gold and emerald, and I was like, "Look, hey, I'm a Yorkshireman. I'm out for a fucking bargain. I'm in it, right?" So. But you know, when you're looking at it, and I'm thinking, it don't look right. It's like too goldy. It was like yellowy, the rings. And I went, I'm not so sure. Anyhow, I looked at this ring, and I went, that's not bad. That's all right. I went, how much for that? And his mate's going like, he's putting his hand up. He's going 500. And I'm like, nah, no chance. So I'm off bartering. Anyhow. Cut a long story short, I finished it up paying about 380 quid for this ring. So, and I bought it thinking, Mother's Day was coming up. That's what I remember thinking. I'm in Mother, a bit of costume jewelry, I'll be all right. Anyhow, so as you can guess, it didn't come with a box. I went and got a box, wrapped it up. So Mother's Day comes, gives it my mother. She opens it, as my mother would do. John, lovely that. That's lovely. That's really nice. She puts it on. I know my mum thinking, she's looking, that's minging. Because it just didn't match up with her rings. So I went, look, Mum. I said, look, I know you're not sure about it. She went, it's a funny colour. I went, look. She went, I feel awful. I went, Mum, just take it. There's a shop in Sheffield where I said, you cash it in, PA jewelry. Just cash it in. So I said, all right. And then she went, I can't do it. I said, look, just cash it in. I said, and get something that you'd like. Mum, just do it. Anyhow. Didn't think anything more of it. About 2 weeks later, my phone rings. My mother's like, hey, not happy with you. I went, why? What's up? She went, that ring. And I went, what are you on about? I kind of got it. She went, what are you doing? And I went, what do you mean what we're doing? She went, you shouldn't be spending money on me like that. I went, what are you on about? She went, I took it to PA Jewel. Did he give me 1,750 quid for it? I'm now thinking, where the he knows mates. And the purity of the gold from over there and the emerald was there. And I'm like, I'm thinking, I wish I'd have bought the bloody bag.
For 300 quid.
No, but Tino's mates had gone back by then. Oh, yeah. So it was always, but that's the thing. With Tino, there was always a story around him.
That's fantastic. We've had a question come in, actually. It's Lee Fernhow. He asks, who was the best player you played with at Newcastle?
And I was with some ridiculous talent, but when you're judging a player, you have to go, right, do it time and time again, and was just genius. And it was Peter Beardsley. Yeah, he'd train him. At times I used to think to myself, get hold of it, get on, do a dribble, and he'd just pop it off. And then
amazing.
You learn. I learned more from Peter Beardsley in the first 6 months of him playing than I probably did with any coach. Because you watch him and how he sees things, you pick it up because it's close. You're now in close quarters, and he does things. He shoots between your legs, and you think. And I remember saying to him, "Oh, you lucky bastard! He scored again." And then he did it about 3 times, and he kept saying, "I'm a real lucky bastard, aren't I, Bez?" And then you realise because he goes to shoot round you, and then drags it through your legs, keepers unsighted, and it's just. But it was just his vision that I saw about popping it off, keeping it moving, and it was all. But all that comes from, it's all like he says, it was him going. He's learning from his time at Liverpool, and that handed down, and Keegan being in training, and just
cool.
It's weird. It's hard to say. Oh, he wouldn't say to me, "Oh, get here and do that." He would say to you, keep the ball moving, get a different picture in your head. Every time the ball comes to you, what can you change? What can you do? And it's true. I used to look at football in a totally different manner. But him, week in, week out, he was ridiculous. He was frightening. I think at that when he must have been 31. He just got better and better.
Do you know, Andy Cole said exactly the same thing to me. I asked him all the players that he's played with. He said Peter Beardsley is he learnt so much from him before he went to Manchester United. It has really helped his career, which is incredible.
Oh, it is. Honestly, it's a weird thing. I remember there is a little funny. I remember him joining us, and I'm thinking, brilliant. This is more like it. We know Keegan's signing proper players now. Liverpool, England, Everton. I was like, right. We played Hartlepool pre-season. He'd only just arrived, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, I want to see what he's like. Give him the ball. Anyhow, I'm playing left back, so the ball drops to him, and he's kind of on halfway line, and he didn't even look, and he just pinged it straight out. But it went about 10, 15 yards in front of me. It went straight out of play. Honestly, it went straight out of play. And I kind of looked over and I thought, well, okay, fair enough. He's just finding his range, Anyhow, I remember in training about a week later, the same thing happened. It was like a little game, and it just went, and I looked, and then it clicked. It weren't Peter Beardsley's fault. I should have been 10, 15 yards further forward. But he doesn't bollock you. He doesn't tell you. It's up to you to go, right. If the ball fucking drops there, I should be on my way. But I was used to playing with guys who, when the ball dropped to him, he took a touch and he shoveled it my way, and then I sort of like into it. He didn't take a touch. He just did it. And that's one of the things to explain, and it's weird. He doesn't tell you. And the thing of it is, he can be very cynical. We used to say to certain players, they go, "Oh, Peter Beardsley, I feel a bit, he don't talk to me." And I'm thinking, yeah, because he don't fucking rate you. He will blank you. He'll just go, no.
Wow.
He won't be nasty. He'd just be like, no, he won't go, by the way, he's one of the nicest guys ever. But if you're not on his wavelength and you don't get in it, that's it. You're gone.
I've got a question for you then, and there's something behind it. But would you rate better, Peter Beardsley or Paul Scholes? Because the reason I ask is I actually inadvertently had this debate with Paul Scholes' agent. I was backstage at a Ryan Giggs event, and I said Peter Beardsley is the greatest English midfielder ever. And I think Paul Scholes knows that I think that. So it was like, I'm dreading meeting Scholesy.
Mate, I just say he was. When I came out, I was, coming to end of my career, and Scholesy was just starting. He was getting into it. But I was lucky enough to just see him when he was breaking in at close quarters. But then I started to watch him, and he was exactly the same. He sees football exactly like Peter Beardsley in a different. They're seeing. I always go, I had a good touch. I could pass a ball. I could ping a ball like them. But they're doing it just fucking in a different way. They're doing it under pressure. They're seeing how move in front. They're on a different plane. It would be. I couldn't. Do you know what? And this is me giving Paul Scholes the biggest accolade ever. I couldn't separate them. because
No.
they both could score goals, they both could create. The one thing that I tell you what as well, though, you know what they both were? They were both shit at tackling.
Yeah.
Because Peter Beasley was crap at tackling. He chased down, he tackled. So yeah, they were just I couldn't separate them, mate.
That is a great answer sitting on the fence. Right, Bez, what we're going to do, we did ask you to do a fantasy 1 to 11 from Newcastle United. I'm going to bring that up now, and I'm just going to ask you to talk through your picks. So we'll start off with your keeper, and we've gone for Shay Given in goal. Now, can you tell us why you chose Shay, please?
I mean, God rest his soul. Pavel Srnicek, when I first went to Newcastle, was just shot stopping, ridiculous, freakily good. But crosses, he could go missing. He'd be like Superman, or he just, when you needed him to come, he'd stay, and that was it. And then we signed Shaka Hislop, who was just again very, very unbelievable, a quality goalkeeper, but the most laid back person I've ever met in my life. He could fall asleep in a game with 50,000 people screaming his name. But Shay came when I was coming to sort of like towards the end. I probably had a season with Shay, and you just go, he wasn't the tallest compared to someone like, he's 6'4", 6'3". I would say, what is it? He'd probably be at 5'11", 6 foot, whatever. But he was reflexes, crosses, his strength, his wrists. People call it, like we used to say, goalkeepers were fish wrists. You'd shoot it, put it in the bottom corner, they get an hand to it, it'd go in, it'd find it in. Shay, he had everything. He also, which is a massive thing, it was the voice at the back as well. It just gives you that sort of solidity and just confidence that you got when you got something behind you. You think, even if I cock up, and I put myself in the shit, he'll get me out the shit. And I think that's the attribute to him.
I think all successful teams have a very, very strong goalkeeper. You look at Peter Schmeichel comes to mind, Kasper Schmeichel, David Seaman. I think it is a real key part of a very, very successful team. And Newcastle got it now at the moment. They've got a very, very strong goalkeeper.
If we'd had 596,
Yeah. The only thing is, with that, Pavel Srnicek, I'm so glad you mentioned him, was my boyhood hero. You may have noticed my my mug that I'm drinking my coffee out of now. The guy was my absolute hero as a kid.
Do you know what? It was just the nicest guy. They used to go, Pavel is a Geordie. The fans loved him so much.
Yeah.
True. He was the worst thing I ever had to do. Get this, right? The nicest man ever, Pavel Srnicek, right? The nicest man ever. And he kind of changed. The change rooms where we were at Maiden Castle weren't like, like the change rooms are. We changed at like a sports centre, and the university used to come in. This is true, right?
Uh-huh.
I remember, I'll give you a little link to this. I remember David Ginola signing from Paris Saint-Germain and was sat in his changing room, and he turned and went, "Who is this?" And there's a bloke turned up to play badminton in the sports centre sat next to him. Because the sports centre could get changed where we were. They did section off in the end, but that's how it was. So, but the change rooms were shy. They were tight. Now, Pavel used to train his nuts off, but he used to get such a sweat on. Now, the trouble with Pav as well, his diet was spices and onions and peppers, and he stunk. Honestly, mate, stunk. And I'm not. And lads, because they liked him, and also you're a bit intimidating. He was 6'4" and he could handle himself. It was like, oh my God, who's going to tell him he stinks? You know what I mean? And I got nominated. He got nominated, right? Bez, you got to tell him, right? He's got to change. He's got to get. And anyhow, I remember this day, and I just remember going. I think I got a pack of Shaw, the deodorant and everything. I took it. I thought, I've got to make this kind of bit of a joke, and I put it down himself, and I thought he's gonna laugh, and his face never changed. And I'm thinking, oh shit, here we go. And he went, what's this? And I'm thinking, oh, you don't get it. And I went, And I had to look him in the eye and go, Pav, mate, honestly, you're humming, you're stinking. When you sweat, you need to put some deodorant and everything else. And you know what? His face dropped, but you know what? From that day on, you know what? There was a difference. He was
Really?
conscious of it. That was the worst. Honestly, it's the worst thing I ever got nominated for ever, because he was the nicest kid in the world. But hey, things have got to be said at some time.
Yeah, it's not the worst. That's not bad. I mean, I heard your story about you and Killer Kilcline shaving his head. That's got to be worse.
Yeah. Cutting Killer's hair was, that was the worst. Well, it's in the top 3, put it that way.
Speaking of Killer, let's move on to the defence. Killer's obviously not in it, but you've nominated yourself, Bez, which I really like. Steve Howie, Philippe Albert, and Barry Venison in any order. Tell me about these 4.
Venus, I didn't realise. I knew he came from Liverpool, and he didn't really have much pace, but by God, could he pass? He never give it away. His touch and passing, he was fit. He would work. He worked his nuts on fitness. His diet was very, very good. This is in the days of like you didn't really have to have a diet, but he did. He looked after himself. He was just, he was one of them that he was a brilliant captain. What I mean by that was he could be he might not be having the best of games, but he would just dig people out and he would find your team. He would literally just go, he'd find a way to get a result. And I thought that was one of the reasons when we come to the latter years that we didn't have someone like Barry Venison, who would just dig people out. The thing is with Venice, though, he didn't know when to stop sometimes. He didn't have a filter. I remember him slaughtering Keegan once. Keegan spat his dummy out once when we got promoted. But as we were getting promoted from the Championship, we got promoted against Grimsby, didn't we, on the... I don't know if you remember this. We got promoted against Grimsby, but so now we got 2 free games. We're promoted. And we got Oxford midweek. And on the Wednesday, we went 1-0 down. And it was a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show. We weren't playing particularly well, blah, blah, blah. Anyhow, Keegan actually left before the game, right? And Terry Mack said, no, Keegan said, his wife, well, he had to. But we kind of got a gist that he'd walked out on us. Well, honestly, Venner's just lost it. He was like, fucking having this. We got promoted. We win together, we lose together. And he fucking went on this rant. And I was like, wow. But I'm thinking, Venner's, be careful. You're crossing the line here. But the message got back, and Keegan came and apologized and everything and said, no, it was there was an illness and everything else. But I look back and I go, Venner's was brilliant to go. He thought of the team, he weren't about, he didn't just think himself. It was like, whether the management, the coaching, or if anything wasn't quite right, Venner's would jump all over it. But don't get me wrong, he could play. He's passing up to about 20 yards, never give it away. Best side foot, right foot pass I have ever seen. It was crisp, perfect.
I always liked Barry Venison. I always liked Darren Peacock as well, to be honest with you. I thought Darren Peacock was a solid defender back in the day. He was a good player.
Peasy was the best defender. He was the best defender, but he was limited on his distribution. He could pass, but taking it to the next level, that wasn't, Darren Peacock's forte wasn't that. Peasy was, I'd edit, clear it, win it, and everything else. The only thing with Peasy is he was too quiet for me. Your centre halves, they should be screaming, shouting, and dominating. Peasy got on with his game and was, don't get me wrong, was brilliant, but he was just too quiet.
Which brings us nicely to your 2 centre halves here. We've got Philippe Albert and Steve Howie. Talk us through these two, because these are like Philippe Albert. We're going to talk about the chip against Schmeichel, obviously, but just talk us through these 2 chaps.
Yeah, I'll start with Steve Howie. Steve Howie was centre forward. I didn't realise when we went there, and me and Rob Lee used to slaughter him, saying, "How the hell were you a centre forward? Jesus Christ!" And he was like, Kevin Keegan saved him. Absolutely, I think he really probably got released. But Keegan saw that he could play. Was very good in the air, but technically, I mean, Steve Howe was quality, technically very, very good. And the thing is with Steve as well, you know, he was deceivably quick. You know, he weren't one of them you think, oh God, he's rapid. But you know, once he got into his stride, he get there. You know, but he read things very, very well. You know, he was just a proper centre half. You know, like you said, he was probably a bit ahead of his time. You know, because nowadays he was a lot more physical. Like nowadays, you know, playing out from the back would have suited him perfectly.
He got an England team, didn't he? Like, I'm moving to the back. He got himself an England team a couple of times, yeah?
I actually travelled down to watch his debut. I think, memory serves, Colombia, I think it was. And he got an England squad, and he should have been involved in Euro 96. But because he got Terry Venables told him to get himself fit, and he went for a run up in Durham and went over on his ankle and did all his ankle ligaments. So he was out. But he was out of the squad. But Terry Venables did invite him down to be part of the squad and put him on the bench, as in just in a tracksuit to be part of it. Yeah, he should have been part of it. Yeah.
Not bad. Sorry, come on then. Philippe Albert. I want to know the 5-0 with the chip. Like, what was that like for you seeing that happen? Because to me, that was glorious. Like, being there.
I don't throw it out, you know, sort of easily. He was world class. He was frighteningly good. I mean, Philippe could make things look just everything so smooth. It was like a Rolls Royce when he played. The thing of it is, the chip against Man United, we see it in training, day in, day out. It's not one of those where you go, oh yeah, you know, lucky that day, you know, one came off, you know. Philly would do that for fun, you know. His left foot was just an absolute wand, and just to add to it, the guy was just brilliant. What a gentleman! One of the funniest guys I've ever met, but he don't know how funny he is because he gets all his work and everything else, but he just cemented himself. Not only that with the chip and everything else, but Philippe was one of the young lads at Newcastle, Lee Clark, Stevie Watson, Robbie Elliott. They were so, how can I put it? They were so sort of, they were a massive impact on the team, even though they probably were subs and everything else. You know, they wouldn't be really involved in probably the main 11. But any new signing, them 3 lads would take the new signings, especially the foreign lads, and they would show them what Newcastle was all about. They'd take them down the big market. They'd take them down the quayside. That was instrumental of just, you know, getting people to understand what Newcastle was all about. And the thing with Philippe is he turned into being more of a Jordan than he was a Belgian. He just loved it. He loved a pint of beer. He loved the banter with the supporters. And so, you know, it was just a marriage made in heaven.
Outstanding. And the final member of your defence then is yourself, Mr. John Beresford. Big yourself up, John.
I'm one of them I was a midfield player when I was growing up, and then I remember I went to Barnsley, and Barnsley we were shy. It was rubbish. And I remember running around in midfield, trying to get on the ball. The players I was playing with weren't the best. You know, the manager didn't want us to play, so it would just ump it forward. And I was like, I had a year there just thinking, what the hell is all this about? And I just remember thinking to myself, if I play fullback, I can actually go and get it off the goalkeeper. I can actually get on the ball and do something. I can actually dictate something. And that's how it came about. I literally went to Barnsley to think, I thought, well, I'll try and, you know, get my career back on track. And that's how it came. And I thought, once I get a bit noticed, I'll go back to midfield. And it just moved on from there. So I kind of taught myself to play left back. And what I realized was, though, I was lucky. I could run. I was an athlete, you know. I could run, and I was very quick. So within that, I actually thought, right, how I started to do it was to say, a lot of people used to go, oh, okay, you know, clatter wingers and things like that. And yeah, I could, you know, you'd put your foot in now and again. But I also worked out that the last thing a winger wanted to do was He didn't want to defend. So I went, right, chase me. And I used to bomb on, ridiculous. But the thing was, I was ridiculous because I could run and run all day. So the thing is, by the time I've run 2-3 times and they've chased me back, and the winger now, who could be a quality player, he gets the ball, he's knackered. Yeah. So he's actually, think I've now knackered him out. And I did that a lot of times. And a lot of, like, you know, people say, well, you know, you bombing on to, you know, to create and to score. And I said, no, I'm actually defending. I'm actually taking their, you know, one of their most dangerous players to defend. So it's defending, but in a different way.
Great, I like that. I like that. One thing I want to mention, actually, we spoke about Albert's chip at the very beginning. We showed you lobbing Schmeichel as well, not for Newcastle. I think it was Portsmouth.
I meant it, yeah.
Yeah, but like, what's that like to have? Because not many people got to lob Peter Schmeichel. Like, what's that like for you to have that in your locker?
I remember there was a cup game, and I remember, you know, it was one of, you know, great goal and everything else. And I remember sort of, you know, in them days, I think it was Betamax or whatever. And I remember asking Manchester United, has the game been televised? No, but we have had a, you know, we do a, you know, sort of like VT on it, whatever it is. And I just remember sort of going, oh, that's nice to, you know, that's nice to remember. And it's like now, you know, I ain't got anything I can play it, so it's nice that I'll have to have a look back on, you know, on the old YouTube to have a look at it again and show me something.
I'll send you it.
Yeah, please, because I can then go, look, have a look at that. I weren't bad.
Yeah, right. Mate, you want to dine out on that one? Right, let's on to the midfield. Who have we got? Ginola, Beardsley, Lee, and Gillespie. Now, we've touched on these four gentlemen. Is there anything you can add to your midfield here that you can tell us about any of these four that we've not mentioned already?
No, Rob Lee's just, he's most underestimated, underrated. Honestly, people, but he's that and more. Mate, he had, the only best bit about it is he owes me because he came to Newcastle, because I remember Kevin Keegan coming to me, and Keegan didn't know. We were in the Championship. He didn't know much about football. He'd just come from Spain, especially the league. And he needed a right winger. And he went, Bez, who's the best right winger? You're a left back. Who's the best right winger in the Championship? And I said, I don't even need to think about it. I said, the lad at Charlton, Rob Lee. He says, oh, yeah. He says, I've been tipped off about him. I'm saying, Gaffer, no, he is. I said, Gaffer is the bollocks. I says, he used to give me such a hard time when I played against him, you know. And so anyhow, this is where Keegan was brilliant. He signed Rob Lee, called me into his office and says, by the way, you two are roomies now. And he went to me, by the way, you recommended him. Make sure he works. I think that's brilliant. And so we were room partners from then on for 5 years.
What's he like as a roommate then?
Do you know what? I can't knock him because we've got this. We've got the same likes as well. Because I think the thing is, it's so important to get someone. We like his Maltesers. We've got the same little rituals. We have a cup of tea on a Friday night. You know, we like the same kind of programs on TV. You know, on a Friday night, he liked to get up and have a breakfast and go for a walk, same as me. We're very, very similar in that sense. So I can't knock him. But it's funny, isn't it? When you spend 5 years of your life with you know, it's weird. You know all these, you know, idiosyncrasies and everything else, you know. But it is funny. It did take me about a year though to realise he was Mr. Magoo. He was blind as a bat, you know.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he was absolutely. And I remember one game he stopped and I was like, "What's up?" He says, "I'm blind." I went, "What?" He says, "My freaking contacts fell out." Well, I was just in hysterics, and he couldn't see a thing. He could not see a thing, and he'd hid it to everybody that he kept a spare sort of like, I don't know, pair, whatever it is, with the physio. And the physio is now trying to find it. Because Keegan's going, "What's up with him?" And Rob Lee says, "I can't fucking see a ball. I couldn't see a thing."
That's incredible. Did you watch him on Harry's Heroes? What did you think to that? Did you see that?
Do you know what? I haven't seen it, and I should. I saw the first one, and I ain't seen the second one. I know he's piled it on because I've been giving him some stick as well. Anyway, he's piled it on, and he says, "Yeah, the trouble is now they've gone down. It's all about mental healing now, isn't it? It's all about the mental problems." So, But yeah, he said it was interesting, but he said to me, he just felt as though the producer forced a few things on him a little bit, then it got a little bit tacky. So when I heard about that, it kind of put me off a little bit, you know.
That's the nature of the beast, though, isn't it? Surely.
Well, of course, they're selling it out to people, so they got to try and make it a little bit interesting and everything else. But I remember he said he turned up to do a 6-a-side in France or something, and there was like a was it a group of French team came and they were all sort of naked with their all these or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think David Seaman spat his dummy out, and I'm thinking, what are they doing here now? I think they're just trying to sort of, I don't know. I understand it's TV and everything else, but yeah, when I heard that, I was like, I don't think it's for me.
No, that's fair enough. On to the forward two then, Alan Shearer and Les Ferdinand. Like, it's almost doesn't need saying, but tell us something about these two chaps.
Oh, well, Les on his day, if Les is at his best, it's ridiculous. He's unplayable. He can jump and hang. He's just ridiculous. I remember him once. I remember thinking to myself, I'm going to run. And I was decent. If I had a run, I was decent in the eye. I could run and jump. If you get up early and that, you think to yourself, I remember this one situation. I've thought to myself, right, I'm running and I've got in line of the ball. And I'm running. I've jumped. I've took off. And I'm thinking, I'm just about to head it. And all of a sudden, he came across me, Les. But he came across me and took it on his chest. And you're like then realizing how high he's jumping. Took it, and I remember, and he was at QPR at the time, and just going, oh my God, you know, he was just phenomenal. Power and pace. His touch, he would have said himself, you know, that was his hold up play would have, you know, he needed to, that was his one slight downfall, but he worked so hard to get it on that. Yeah. But the one thing I'm going to say, just that, you know what, one of the nicest blokes, one of the nicest people you will ever wish to meet. He's just an absolute gentleman, and he gets to the point where you actually go, I hate him because he's too good. That's how it gets. You just go, you're good looking, you got everything, piss off.
And Alan Shearer then, like, obviously the credentials of Shearer don't need explaining, but what was it like when Newcastle signed him for 15 million? What was the feeling in the dressing room like when he walked through the door?
Yeah, he was. Well, we were gutted because we'd missed out on the title that year. Keegan wanted to make a difference, and we found out. You know, I remember the thing was we were flying to Asia because we got like a sponsorship deal, and it was pre-season and everything else. And Kevin Keegan and Terry Mack, we were at Heathrow Airport, and you just knew some of them was going off. You know, Terry Mack was on his mobile phone and he was running here and he was shooting off there. And I could see Kevin Keegan was quite animated because he wears his heart on his sleeve. And lads are going, Jesus Christ, there's something happening here. And I can't remember who said it. Somebody said, this is either a big signing or they've got a big bet on a horse because they love to bet. And that's what it used to be like. And anyhow, next minute, Keegan's not getting on the plane. So we're like, what? What do you mean he's not getting on the plane? So Keegan literally left. And then we landed in Asia. I'm trying to think. I think it would have been Thailand. And the news had then come through that Alan Shearer had signed. Now, lads are like, whoa, here we go. What's happening now? You know what I mean? This is big. You know what I mean? Is it? I don't have you. Do you know this story about Shearer and Les though?
No.
About the numbers though.
I know that all I know is from the outside in. I know that they.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, but this is it. I mean, them two. You know, you think right, okay, they're signing. But the one thing which had happened that Keegan's got, you know, Shearer's like, you know, well, I want the number 9. You know, that's it. Which. You got to remember, we don't know about this until Les tells us the story. So Keegan's called Les in and gone, by the way, Les, part of the deal is, you know, Alan Shearer, you know, it's iconic, you know, he wants to be number 9. Now, hang on a bit, you know, Les is iconic. He's just been top man. I think he got player of the year, and he's like going, well, I want the number 9. oh well, so now Keegan's going, well, Les, come on, it's just a number. It's just a number. You can have any choice you want. What's your other favourite number? What's your other favourite number? And he went, well, number 10. But that was Lee Clark. Now, Lee Clark is the biggest Geordie ever. And Les went, I'm sorry, I could not do that. I could not do that to Lee Clark. I would never do that to him. So that's out of the question. So, and I think Les went, well, I want 99 then. I'll have 99. And then for some unknown reason, the rules weren't, you couldn't do that. So anyhow, Keegan's going, come on, Les, we got to figure a way around this. It's just a number, innit? And this is true. And so Les Ferdinand went, Gaffer, so why have you got number 7 on that chain? Keegan had got on his gold chain. He had the number 7.
He still wears it.
Yeah. Well, he did at that time. And then Keegan was like, you've got me. He fucked me there. That was true.
That's outstanding.
The thing of it is, it finished up, and Les finished up wearing 10, and it pissed, and it was wrong because Lee Clark. So in the that is the one thing with signing Alan, which was brilliant. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, I had to sign him, but the moving the number 9 actually pissed Les off and pissed Lee Clark off. So that was the negative on signing Alan Shearer as well. It went Alan's fault. He won it.
Absolutely, and Alan gets what he wants there, surely, for 15 million.
Yeah. Well, that was it. Record signing and everything else. He came in, and it was from the lads' point of view. We were like, right, here we go, because we you got to remember, we didn't have a lot of experience that previous year. We came second and we should have probably won the league, but with experience. But now we're bringing somebody else in who's going to make the team even better. And now we're thinking, right, we're going toe to toe with Man United.
That's 20 extra goals from Shearer, isn't it?
Well, yeah, you just knew that we would have gone. And this is my upset with not losing out, losing out on the championship, Premiership. Yeah. And I coped with it because it was like, yes, inexperience and everything else. I can deal with it. What I can still not deal with is Kevin Keegan leaving with that squad. Mm-hmm. Why would you leave that squad? I think we became second again that year, but you don't walk away from, and especially them players, because no disrespect, if Kevin Keegan had said to me, by the way, Bez, today, strip naked, jump off the Tyne Bridge, I'd do it, because that's how I felt about my manager, and what he said would go, and I just didn't get it. There was nothing that could make you walk away from that. Still, no. I want to accept it. Sorry, I went on a bit of a so. No,
not at all. I was going to ask, was there not a part of you thinking, Kenny Dalglish, he's just won the league with Blackburn, and that again could be a difference maker. He knows what it's like.
Yeah. But no, when Kenny came in, I thought, what a fantastic appointment. But it just didn't work. It just did. I thought it was the right appointment. But I fell out with Kenny like you never know. Big fallout. He was the most stubbornest manager I've ever come across. I remember we went to play PSV Eindhoven in Champions League, and we're away. And he came to me and he just went before the game, and he had a little quiet word. And I went, okay. And he says, Bez, today, if you go, and it's the way he said it. He just went, if you go over the halfway line, I'll take you off. And I looked at him and what? And I said, what it meant was, I want you to just keep your shape, Yeah. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I went, yeah, no problem, Gaffer. So I'm thinking, right, okay. But I'm thinking, let's go see how the game sort of pans out. Anyhow, they went 1-0 up. They were a decent team as well, PSV. They had really good talent. They went 1-0 up with about first half. So second half, you come in half time, aren't you? I'm like, Gaffer, we need, can we chase the game a little bit? No, you dare keep me shape. So you do as you're told. I came off. I played in my position. The wingers never really done it. They passed us to death at PSV. We never touched it. We never had a shot. Even when we won it, you go, well, we got nowhere to go because we had like sort of men behind the ball. He'd instructed everybody to do what we instructed. I think John Dole Thomason was playing up front on his own. And I just remember thinking, what is going off? We come in, final whistle went, and he just went, well played, lads. What a great result. And I'm thinking, you know, we could have, you know, things could go on. And I'm thinking, what the fuck's going on? This is bullshit. You know, it's like we didn't even fucking lay a hand on him. And I couldn't get it. And I look back and I think he was maybe just trying to go, do you know what? We were so the opposite way with Kevin. He was putting a stamp on to say, no, we're going to go this way now. We're going to have shape, and this is how we're going to play. And but it was just, he just tried to do it way too quick, and it just didn't work. It just didn't work.
Well, also, aren't you boys are used to playing a certain way that's been successful?
Yeah, you still a little bit, you know, on autopilot. You know, you're kind of like, well, you know, I get it. I go there, I move, and you know, and things start to change. But then, you know, different people started to come in, and then it changes the dynamic, and then the results started to go as well. And when in the end, you know, Kenny, it didn't work out for him. But for me, I knew straight away. I remember he signed Stuart Pearce, but he kind of wanted Stuart Pearce to be a kind of left-hand centre half. And then he also signed Alessandro Pastone, which was funny. Now, Alessandro Pastone was honestly, he was a very talented footballer, but he was soft as shit. And he dropped me for a game. And I remember knocking on the usual thing. I didn't say anything on the weekend. I was sub, you know, went and saw him on the Monday, banged on his door. Can I have a word, Gaffer? Yeah, what do you want? I went, how come you've played Alessandro Pastone before me? And he went, well, you know, I've paid £4.5 million for him, and you know, I want to make sure that, you know, he gets a chance. I went, hang on a bit, I'm better than him. And I says, you know I'm better than him. And he went, I know. Which then confused me. I went, so why are you not playing me? He says, look, can you just put up with it? He says, if I don't play him, I'm going to lose the value. He says, just give me a couple of months and then I'll get rid of him. And I went, you want me to play second fiddle to him for a couple of months? Well, I'd just lost it and just went, well, if you don't appreciate me, I'm off. And I made the biggest mistake of my life by leaving Newcastle. And I did. I just went, yes. And you get tipped off. Stuart Gray was the coach at Southampton, knew me from my Barnsley days. He'd heard on the grapevine that I wasn't happy at Newcastle and said, why don't you come and join us at Southampton? And I was like, yeah, a new challenge. I was 31, 32 then. I knew I'd got the thing is I'd got a couple of years left in me to play at the top level. And I'm not one of I couldn't just sit on the bench. I couldn't play at Gateshead Stadium in the reserves. I needed to play in front of the crowd. This is why I don't get the modern day game, you know. No. I get the players go, oh yeah, you know, I'm rested. I'm like, what? That walking out in front of a crowd, the abuse, cheering your name, abusing your name. It's just the greatest feeling ever. And the exhilaration, you know, right? Sometimes you get beat, but you just think, right, next week comes again, and you think, right, I want that feeling again. And I get players now, and you see them, they sat on the bench, and I just think, are you getting this? And I don't know. It's just different. It's just different.
Well, it's the boyhood dream. I think every boy wants to play for their club, don't they? And the guys like yourself who are lucky enough to have done it, kind of represent all of our dreams.
Lucky. You need that bit of luck to embrace it.
Absolutely, because it's fleeting as well. But actually, didn't Steve Bruce say something about that? Was it today or yesterday about like the lack of crowds in current football affects the smaller teams as opposed to the bigger teams because it generates and pushes the players forward. I think he's
playing in front of a crowd makes a massive difference. I can't tell you how big it makes. You've also got to remember as well. It depends on characters as well. I remember Steve Guppy coming to Newcastle. Steve Guppy was a quality player, great lad, and everything else. Yeah, but he was but the club was too big for him at that time. He couldn't handle the pressure of playing in front of the Geordies, the players who he was playing with at the time. He just wasn't mentally ready, and he was a nervous wreck. It was a nervous wreck coming to training and everything else. So Steve Guppy walking out in a small crowd and everything else, you'll see a different player. Put him in front of 50,000 people, he tenses up, and you can't cope with it. But then also, you know, like you said, it's like you play at certain grounds, and crowds can be right on top of you. I look
Mhm.
back, the Dell was all, Upton Park was always horrible to play at. They're giving you abuse. They can literally spit at you, and they do. And you kind of, it's intimidating, and it's how you learn to react from it. I always think, like you play again, the teams now playing with no crowd and a big open pitch. I would say the bigger teams are going to have a lot better. They'd be much better chance. It's going to suit them so much more, miles more.
Right. Well, we have come up to the end of the interview, Bears, and the boss is already on slapping my wrist about it. But honestly,
I told you I could talk shy.
Right. Well, you and me both, my friend, and he knows it too. He knew this was going to happen. But we are going to call it a day, John. I absolutely thank you so much for your time. The pleasure has been all mine, John. Honestly, this is
both, mate. Absolutely, really enjoyed it. And as I said, hopefully we'll get a chance, and we're going to have come and be a guest for me at my table at Newcastle. If I get my job back when the new owners come and they allow me back in, come and be a guest for me, and we'll have a catch up.
Yes, mate. Yes. Yes. All right. Here we go. Right.
And after this, please text me so I can. I want to send my best wishes on.
100%, mate. 100%. We're going to end the broadcast now. Stay on the line, John. We'll carry on talking. But ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure, John Beresford.